what are the values of my community? Like, what are the values I want to take on? And I think, right, what does it mean to be a good person? How are you a benefit to others around you, and like kindness and all of those pieces? And I guess that's more than anything where I've landed in the grand scheme of things, which is the question of like, how do I be a good person? And I'm just choosing not to find those learnings through religious text or through religion.
There are all these different facets of God, but there's also the tradition that we are all made in the image of God. So if we are all made in the image of God, and there are a lot of Valley Girls out there, then there must be some facets of God that are like Valley Girls.
That was Noelle and Maya discussing the spoken word piece, Let's Talk About Faith, which I co-wrote with Daniel Adam Day of Seeing Things after being inspired by Psalm 143. I'm Shep Rosenman. This is the previously unscheduled special edition to celebrate the Purim holiday of The Rest is Commentary, where we discuss what songs inspired by the Psalms or Tehillim inspire in my guests. Purim is about turning things around, vina hafochu, danger to safety, sadness to gladness, with an emphasis on experiencing joy and humor throughout the Hebrew month of Adar, Misha Nichnas Adar Marbim Besimcha. Purim is also a holiday that celebrates faith in God, even though the holiday's primary text, Megillat Esther, or the Book of Esther, does not mention God once. All of that is why I'm offering up this very serious topic in a less than serious package. Actually, you guys should be the judge of that. I wrote Let's Talk About Faith with Daniel's help and recruited Maya to play God in the piece. I then invited Maya and our friend Noelle to talk with me about the song and faith from our three very different perspectives. Maya has her master's in clinical psych from Pepperdine University and is studying for her PsyD at Cal Lutheran and is an ambassador for various Jewish organizations, including something called Tribal, that's Trybal, in Los Angeles. Noelle is a content strategist specializing in viral content and exponential growth for brands and creators. She received her bachelor's degree in creative technology and design from the University of Colorado Boulder's Atlas Institute. The three of us will be talking about faith and uncertainty in modern life, different perspectives on God and spirituality, the role of the Torah and Jewish values, beliefs about the afterlife and reincarnation, free will and decision-making, Valley Girls, and so much more. Let's start off by listening to Let's Talk About Faith. So, God. I suspect you know, but my name is Joe, as in regular Joe, yet in the finest of Jewish traditions, here I am talking to you.
In that, there's nothing new. Is there something you'd like to discuss?
Oh, wow. I wasn't actually expecting a response. Thanks for your time?
I'm outside of time.
Well, thanks for the opportunity.
It's hardly serendipity. Jewish tradition asks you to do this 3 times a day. And right now, you're technically late or super early.
Okay. Well, I have a question. We're supposed to be godly and act like you?
True. That is the assignment.
And we're supposed to have faith.
That bet is safe, and it makes things so much more convenient.
So one quick follow-up. How?
I can tell you now. You're familiar with Rambam's so-called 13 Principles of Faith?
Sure, he came up with them in the 12th century Egypt and Spain. But it was my understanding they were for himself, not necessarily every Jew throughout history.
Well, let's clear up that mystery. They're a good start. Check them out. I mean, I already know them, being omniscient and all, but...
Yeah, I know.
Oh, me too.
Right. Omniscient. So you want to see how many of them I know.
That's a good way to go.
Okay, here are the first 5, each of which requires emunah shlema, complete faith. 1, that you're the sole creator. 2, in your uniqueness as the only God. 3, that you are not corporeal and there's nothing comparable to you. 4, that you're first and last. 5, that you're the only one to whom it is appropriate to pray.
You look like you have something to say.
I'm a bit squeamish about the phrase emunah shlema, or complete faith. I know nothing with absolute certainty except my own lived experience, and given that I can't even remember what I had for breakfast,
eggs with...
Not my point. Sorry to butt in.
Not a sin. I'll just add it to your Yom Kippur tab.
Thanks. Okay, so given that faith is a choice, I do choose it and I'm fine with principles 1 through 5.
But something still doesn't jive. Even the famously rational Rambam seems to be going past the bounds of logic.
Speaking of bounds, can we keep a scoreboard on how I do? It keeps it real.
Joe, I love your zeal. If you were shooting for 100, that would be 7.69 points per principle, or 38.45 so far. Lay the next 5 on me.
Okay, number 6, belief that the words of the prophets are true. Number 7, that Moshe is the antecedent of all prophets. 8, that the entire Torah we know today is the one given to Moshe. And number 9, that the Torah will not be exchanged and that no additional Torah will be given. Number 10, that you know all our thoughts and deeds.
A nice recall. Great speed. What do you think?
So I have some concerns. For example, number 8, I don't actually believe that all of the words we read today are the exact same perfect and complete words that were written 3,000 or so years ago. If so, why did the rabbis need the oral law and midrash to fill in gaps in the Torah? Why does one midrash say Moshe himself forgot some of the Torah? How do we know that not a single human made an error in transcription?
I prefer the 4 questions. But let's dig in. Let me offer an alternate reading of the word shalema. It doesn't only mean complete. It can also mean at peace. Does that help?
It does. I do believe the general concepts in the Torah are true, and on that basis, I can be at peace, shalem, with those 5 principles.
Your open-mindedness is invincible. That's why you're learning. That brings your score to 76.9. Should we stop here?
Gehenim, no. We're just getting to know each other. Well, you already know me. Maybe I'm just getting to know myself.
Let's put your anxiety on the shelf. Perhaps the Hebrew word rov will help. Rov means majority. Under the kosher rules, one may eat dairy food after a meat meal sooner if the concept rov sha'a kekula applies. So long as you're at least 31 minutes into the 6th hour, it counts as a whole hour, which allows you to get that grilled cheese sandwich into your belly more quickly. So let's say you've swallowed most of the grilled cheese sandwich's worth of Rambam's faith principles, and call it a day. Grab a lactate and hit those showers.
Cleanliness isn't going to get me close enough to godliness. Who be you? I want to be just like you. Here's a toughie. 11. Believe that you reward and punish humans based on whether they keep your commandments. Okay, real talk. I don't see enough Torah followers being rewarded and Torah transgressors being punished. And it raises deeply troubling questions like, why do you allow genocides to happen? Why haven't you cured cancer or COVID, or for that matter, eczema? Why do you allow rape, murder, and child abuse, among other things?
Ooh, that question stinks. Just a bit. Humans have been my agents in the world since time's dawn. You're responsible for keeping my Torah. When humans make bad decisions, I weep. Not only over the result, but also the fact that my Torah was ignored to make sure things don't get too far gone.
Now hold on. I'm no Abraham, which means my son is immensely relieved. But I gotta argue with you here. You're not just omniscient, you're omnipotent. Both the big omnis, which means you can at least fix the really bad stuff.
That's rough. Doing that would take away your sense of agency and empowerment. And my hashtag goals are for you to follow me, not rely on me.
I'm in a pickle. You've given me a rationale for belief, but I'm still not at peace.
What's more Jewish than chewing on a pickle? This debate can cease.
Not so fast. What's the score?
I see you want more. I love the hustle and the desire to stay part of the community. So let's give you half at 3.85% for a running total of 80.75%. I believe the Heavenly Father or Mother with the dad jokes. Nice.
Okay, number 12. Belief that the Mashiach or Messiah will come. I want to believe this one, but I have to be honest, I'm really not feeling it. It's been over 2,000 years. Is the Mashiach en route?
Let me drop a hard truth. The Mashiach will come when humans finally get it right.
I guess I'm deeply cynical we ever will. Just look at the last few years. October 7th, more anti-Semitism, more dictatorships, more lies, more hunger, more war, more crime, more hate.
So fight cynicism with faith. As you said, that's a choice. You always have.
I'm struggling with this one too.
I'm sorry you're blue, but not sorry you're blue and white. That's why Jews are called B'nai Israel, the children of Israel. Just as your ancestor Yaakov wrestled with the divine to become Yisrael, your mission is to struggle.
In that case, I'm nailing it.
You are. Let's not quit. One more to go.
Number 13, belief that you will resurrect the dead. I get that you're so powerful you can bring the dead back to life, but it hasn't happened with anyone I've ever known of. Dead means just dead, unless you're a zombie.
You're not viewing this wrongly.
So is this another long game concept of yours, like waiting for Mashiach, a choose hope sort of thing? Or is this about resurrection through Gilguls or reincarnation like the Hindus?
Girl. Let's keep this on Jews. Or perhaps it's a teku. Just wait for Mashiach to learn if it's true. Yes, triple rhyme. Anywho, in the meantime, you just have to live with the uncertainty. Or choose to believe. Or not. Can you live with that?
Can I put a pin in that? I just keep thinking about how the Hebrew for resurrection is Techias Hamesim, or bringing the dead to life, you know? To life, l'chaim?
No denying, that's my favorite musical. With the possible exception of Joseph.
So, might this go back to the choice Moshe offered us at the end of Devarim? That's chapter 30, 19:20. Quote, I put before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life, if you and your offspring would live, by loving your God, Adonai, heeding God's commands.
Let me see where this lands.
Bottom line, I can buy into the last principle of faith if the Rambam means bringing that which is dead inside of us back to life by choosing to love you, by following what you offer us in the Torah. Not the resurrection of dead bodies, but the resurrection of hearts and empathy. God? Why are you uncharacteristically silent?
I'm pleased that you're wrestling in a way that's non-violent. And also, I noticed that you didn't give yourself a score on this one.
True. Our conversation leads me to conclude it means more to explore than to score. Yes, triple rhyme.
Right on time. See? You're already becoming more godly.
Hello there. I have with me two very special guests. I'm going to refer to the first one as God.
Oh, God.
Or my daughter, because she's divine. Hi, Maya.
Hey, Eva.
And our friend, Noelle Ireland. I'm going to start off with the question that I start off with everyone else. And this is directed to either of you, because you're coming at this from very different perspectives. It was Maya that played God in the song we just listened to. My question is this. These songs come to me, I'm inspired to write them by looking at Tehillim, the Psalms in English, and David or any of the other psalmists were inspired to write them by whatever inspired them. What did Let's Talk About Faith inspire in you?
Do you want to go first? God has to go first.
Firstly, deep discomfort with the sound of my own voice.
That wasn't your voice. That was God's voice.
Of course. How could I take on that responsibility? So disrespectful. I think I was just reflecting on how I felt about faith and belief and uncertainty. And as I was listening, I just realized I am very comfortable with uncertainty in this and only this arena. in life in general, I'm not great with uncertainty. I'm a little bit anxious as a Jewish person. It's in my genes. And I have a little bit of an urge to control the things around me. But I have no need to know what God is or isn't. And it's weird because I was actually talking to my friend yesterday about spirituality, and she asked me, "What is God to you?" And my response was, "I'm not fussed about it."
Not fussed about it as in you don't need to define it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe in God?
I don't know. I pray to God.
Wow, that's super powerful. Where do you land on all of this?
First of all, I think God being a woman, specifically a Valley girl, is top tier, and that's now what I'm going to believe in moving forward. Hands down, no question. I would say that sort of on the opposite side of things is someone who doesn't necessarily believe in a higher power, but believes that there's some essence beyond just us as human beings, but don't really define it by Christianity or by Judaism. That sort of uncertainty is something that I don't really love sitting with. And I have a lot of respect for individuals who can simply have faith. I like to look at things from a scientific perspective a lot of the time, and just looking at how I was raised and just my experience with the world, there hasn't been, and this is, kind of goes against what faith is, there hasn't been really evidence to something beyond ourselves exist. And I would say that the song really spoke to that with all of the chaos that's happening in the world. It's a very odd time to be alive, I would say. And it's slightly unsettling. And to look at that and go, how did we end up here? There's sort of a running joke online that we all died in 2012 and now we're living in purgatory. And that's what the current years have been. Looking at that, I'm always inspired when people have that level of faith to believe in something that is not just what they see and what they feel and what reality is, and to move beyond that. So kind of like looking at the song, I would love to believe that God is a Valley girl.
Well, the song posits, or at least the speaker, Joe, who, no bones about it, Joe's Shep Rosenman. I don't believe that my beliefs are anything other than average, right? Okay, I happen to have read the Torah and a lot of commentaries, but I don't think I landed in a place that's different than many people. So that's why I called it Average Joe or Regular Joe. But so the song posits that belief is a choice, right? So does that change your response in any way?
Yes and no. I would say that the choice to have that faith, I do believe that is a choice. And landing on, I guess, exactly what you're choosing to have faith in is sort of where I land, where I don't personally know what I would be choosing to have faith in at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you, like Maya, aren't, what's the word, fussed? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Fussed about it?
No, I would. Yeah, I'm not super fussed about it.
But a little bit fussed about it.
I was maybe a little more fussed than you are.
Well, what does that look like? Why are you a little bit fussed about it? And you also related to this potentially, as you said, in terms of how you were raised. Can you give us some more context about that?
I just was raised in a family that we were sort of the typical American family that celebrates Christmas and Easter, but I've been to Sunday school once. I don't think I've ever been to a church service. I think I've been in more synagogues than I actually have churches outside of weddings and pieces. I have not read the Bible. We've done pieces of stories around, what is Christmas about? That was just even from a literary perspective. My sister and I were taught that growing up. But in terms of having faith as a family and growing up with that instilled, that didn't really exist.
So was God not at the table?
No, I would say no.
So how does one celebrate Christmas and Easter without God?
I think it becomes more of it's, in my opinion, kind of, some of these have become sort of capitalistic events that we all buy into.
Shopping God.
The shopping God.
Which the Valley girls love.
Agreed. Right. Sales at Goldman Sachs or Saks Fifth Avenue. But I think generally it was looked at as more of a family tradition. And sort of the values of we're spending time together and people have work off. And it's snowing and kind of those traditional hallmark events, but more looking at it from a coming together perspective rather than Jesus died and then he was resurrected. Like, it was vibes.
No, I get that. Oh, but in a way, it's not that everything is Jewish, but in a way, it's very Jewish. It's reminiscent of the thinking about the Sabbath by Rabbi Dr. Abraham Joshua Heschel and what Thomas Cahill called the gift of the Jews. He basically posited that the idea of Shabbat, of resting, of creating a sanctuary in time where we can connect with each other, is the most important thing that the Torah gave to the world. So let's take God out of it for a minute. There's a lot of talk in the song about the Torah. What does the Torah mean to you?
I would say that is a piece of literature that I have maybe gotten to hear sections of, just whether that's at bar bat mitzvahs or here at your house, actually, Shep. But outside of that, it's literature, particularly generally pertaining to the Jewish faith, but also in the First Testament, I think.
The only one for us.
Yeah, the only one for you guys. But First, Second Testament. So it's part of the Bible, all of those pieces. But outside of that, to me, it's a book that I have not read yet.
So it's a piece of wisdom literature.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to turn to you, Maya. What does the Torah mean to you?
I mean, I think a piece of wisdom literature is definitely part of it. I would say, for me, the Torah, along with many other pieces of education in my childhood, Jewish in particular, really shaped my philosophy and values in life. And I think that that's mostly about my family and community. I think, in our community, the Torah is seen as this guiding light. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it is a piece of wisdom literature that really holds the collective philosophy and values of our community and family. And not that we all have to interpret it in exactly the same way, but it's certainly a philosophy that is specific to our culture and that is not part of every culture and community. And so I feel like it's a guiding light in that it shapes the way we think about the world and make decisions, even if you don't use it necessarily as a guiding light in day to day on am I going to eat meat or milk, right? As a vegetarian, it's not particularly relevant to me anyway. But even when I'm not thinking about what does the Torah have to say about this, I think because I learned so much when I was a kid about it, and because it impacted so much of how you learned and how you taught me, it's just generationally impacted the way I think about the world.
It a little bit sounds like the phrase, you can take the boy, or in this case, the girl, out of yeshiva, but you can't take the yeshiva out of the boy or the girl.
Yeah, I think it's some of that. I think it's also you can take the boy out of the yeshiva. You can't take the yeshiva out of the boy, and then he goes and gets married to a somewhat less religious woman and produces a child who you can't really take some of the yeshiva out of because it's in the genes now.
Right. Okay, and you are talking about our family.
Yes, because I never went to yeshiva.
Well, you went to Jewish day school, which is no different than what I did growing up. I mean, I then went to yeshiva, but I would say the blueprint for my Jewish learning, I learned the skills in Highlight, even though I don't credit it, but I really learned how to learn at BMT and Chaitz afterwards, and I relearned how to learn through Wexner.
I learned how to learn about Judaism from you. I 0% credit Jewish day school.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Why? What did you learn or have to unlearn at Jewish day school?
I think when I was at Maimonides, which is where I went for elementary, middle school, I was really very young, and the way that they taught us to think about Judaism was very simplistic. And what I might be wrong, but what I remember learning there was not stuff that I want to continue to carry with me. After that, I was homeschooled and you were in charge of my Jewish education. And I feel like I remember sitting in our living room going over Torah together. And then doing that, I think, with Ian Lurie as well.
Yep.
And that was much more impactful, like sitting there together and going over what does this mean and arguing. And, Torah and arguing are two of the real ways you do Jewish learning.
Well, you say it. I mean, the Valley Girl God said it, Yisrael means to struggle with God, to struggle with that which is greater than ourselves. And by the way, so I'm going to bring this back to Noelle. So the spotlight's off you for the moment. So you don't have to be fussed about it, but even asking the question and being uncertain, as long as you're thinking about it and coming to the conclusion that you're uncertain, under that definition, you're struggling with God. You understand? I don't mean struggling you don't have to krechts about it, right? But you're like, well, I don't know. You've thought about it. That's a type of wrestling. Does that make sense to you?
That does make sense. Certainly, it's very human to sort of sit with the feeling of like, what is beyond me? Is it, right, what happens after death? And kind of think through all of those pieces. And being in specifically Western culture, even if it's indirectly and even if you haven't done a lot of learnings, whether it's Jewish or Christian learnings, that still exists in so much of our literature and movies. I love The Good Place. The Good Place is one of my favorite watches.
Great.
So good and so philosophical and such an interesting way to kind of look at like, what is the afterlife? What is beyond ourselves more than anything? And I think that it's sort of the question of what and why. And I hate not having answers to things, as you know, kind of in a very joking way, similar to The Good Place. Like my goal is if, after death, I would like to sit in a room with someone, specifically Valley Girl, God at this point, and ask them all of the questions that I have not known the answers to. And I think what happens next, or just what is beyond us, is a question that I don't really think we can answer. And so you just kind of have to sit with that. And whether it's, look at any sort of philosopher or watch The Good Place, you kind of just have to form your own opinion on what that looks like. And I certainly have never really turned to more traditional institutions out of a mistrust of religious institutions. So a feeling of unsettledness, but also feeling settled with the fact that I don't know until I watch The Good Place and have a minor existential crisis of like, oh my God, what is next?
Yeah, I had that one too.
Say more.
Oh, the existential crisis. It really upset me.
Why?
Because I spent a good chunk of time panicking about what was going to happen after death, and if there would be nothing, and if I would be nothing, and how short life was, and what happens if I don't get to achieve all that I want to achieve during life. And then I decided that was an unproductive line to continue going down, and decided that I was going to focus on what I can achieve now.
So I want to thread together some bits here. First, I want to say that it sounds like even if The Good Place is first and foremost entertainment, it's also giving you an education about this topic. It's not, you may not say, they talk about Locke and Hume or Thomas Mann or whomever, and you don't then feel compelled to go read those philosophers and authors, but they are constantly throwing religious philosophy at you. So you get to ingest all of that, and you could conclude that there is no answer, and therefore that keeps you in the space of uncertainty. Or you could say, wow, so-and-so, pick the philosopher or actor, character, that really spoke to me. I'm going to choose to believe that. And, not making a decision is a choice too. So you're already in this process. And even if you end up with choosing uncertainty, that's okay. Right? Even if you're uncomfortable with it, because that's the choice you're making. But I guess my question to you is, since you started the podcast by saying you're uncomfortable with uncertainty, why do you choose to stay in it?
I would say that really, and again, kind of going back to The Good Place, is this, and when we look at sort of like the wisdom teachings from whether it's the Torah or the Bible, for me, it just kind of boils down to, and Maya, you were sort of mentioning this, like, what are the values of my community? Like, what are the values I want to take on? And I think, right, what does it mean to be a good person? how are you a benefit to others around you, and like kindness and all of those pieces. And I guess that's more than anything where I've landed in the grand scheme of things, which is the question of like, how do I be a good person? And I'm just choosing not to find those learnings through religious text or through religion, but how do I be the best person to myself and to my community around me? And I guess that's sort of where I've landed in the grand scheme of things.
I was fully expecting you to go there. And this is why I said I'm going to thread this together, because you, Maya, talked about essentially you want to do, right? And you talked about being. These are each action verbs, doing and being. Sure, you can be passive, but at the end of the day, Judaism is a religion of action. It's about engaging with that which we were commanded. And one of the first of those commands are Mil'u et ha'aretz v'kivshuha, fill the earth and conquer it. Now, conquer it doesn't mean conquering as in a sword or a rocket launcher. It means planting seeds and tilling the earth and turning hard things to get out of the ground that when they come out, they're hard, into something that can be soft and molded. I'm specifically thinking of wheat here, right? Or any other vegetables, like, you're going to have thorns, even if you're taking out a cucumber, it's rough. I think that that's the basic concept, the Jewish life that the Torah is trying to tell us. The world has crap in it and it has good stuff in it, and we've got to mold it into the best possible thing that we can. So you each connected to this notion of being a good person, being a community, and like being part of a community. I think from where I sit, and this is language I often use about your mother, Maya, Mom sees God in the community. There's no like old man in the sky, right? For me, there's no old man in the sky, but there's something. I don't know what it is. And the first of the 10 commandments is, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, Asher hotziticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibeit avadim. I'm the Lord your God who took you out of the land of Egypt from the house of slavery. And when Moshe, earlier in the story, Moses asks God, tell me your name being synonymous with how are you defined? God's response is, Ehyeh asher ehyeh, I'll be what I will be. Now, that could mean a million different things. Or my rabbi, I don't know if you consider her your rabbi too, Rabbi Browse.
Sure, yeah.
Says, Ehyeh asher ehyeh means I am becoming, right? So God is this constantly evolving construct. For me, like I can't say, here's the definition of God, but I can say that there is something out there that I can't describe. I can't say what God does, but I can say that there is, for me, like in my kind of theology, in my world. And in the same way, I can't say, do I know if there's an afterlife? I don't know. I certainly want to believe that there is one, but in the song, like this particular topic, Tchiyat HaMetim, the resurrection of the dead, like, sure, I want to believe that I'll get to see my parents again and give them a hug. It might mean that our non-corporeal bodies give each other a hug in the afterlife. Maybe. It might mean that when we achieve the Messiah, that there will be some kind of coming together. It also could be that as energy evolves, we'll encounter each other in some way. Like, I have no freaking clue what's going to happen. But I'm open to the possibility for me. What do you believe about the afterlife, if anything?
I would say that when someone dies, I mean, I don't know if it's the end of them or what exactly it looks like, but the energy cannot be created or destroyed. I have to envision that, like, the soul and the essence of who you are as a person, I think has to go somewhere. I don't know if that's into an afterlife. I don't know if that's into a space that looks like the good place. I don't know if the essence gets to float out somewhere and land in a tree or, someone being reborn. So I don't know exactly where that essence goes, but I guess I kind of have to, like, honestly hope a little bit that it doesn't just simply disappear into nothingness. It doesn't just get snuffed out even when our physical bodies die. So I don't know entirely where it goes or like what happens.
But you're confident that something happens. It's not just like curtain, fade to black and out.
I guess I wouldn't say that I'm certain, But I guess I would be hopeful. I would be disappointed to know that it's like, yep, and then that's it. But exactly what that looks like, I don't know.
So to quote the song, that's a choose hope sort of thing.
A little bit, yep.
Okay. Go ahead, Maya.
I pray to God. I am agnostic, and I am more confident that there is probably nothing after.
Why do you pray to God if you're agnostic?
Because I don't know that there isn't one, and I like the idea of a God. I like the idea of there being something after, and that's my way of choosing hope.
Mm-hmm. But you're confident that there is nothing afterwards.
Fairly certain. Okay, I'm not certain. I'm not agnostic. I'm not atheist. I think that it's more likely, based on, probabilities and statistics and what we know of science, that there's a greater likelihood that there is not anything after. And while I don't love that, I would prefer there to be something after. I am okay with it if that ends up being the case, because I think that the likelihood that I exist as I am, as this collection of cells, as this energy, as all of my ancestors deciding to get together, as all of the chemicals that have made me up, happening to be together on this particular planet in this order is so, so low. So the fact that I get to exist at all is such a gift. And so being able to have existed for whatever time I get to exist for, that's wonderful. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to say, it's not enough.
Wow. That's so powerful. It's a beautiful articulation of choose life, which is, I mentioned the basic principle about, conquering the land. But at the end of Deuteronomy, Moses says, I place before you blessings and curses, choose life. And the literal meaning is choose life, choose to live. Like Maya was saying, the rabbis interpret that as follow the Torah, that's what it means to choose life. For all these songs, I do these source sheets, and putting this one together, I looked for some really interesting quotes from some of the great thinkers. I look through some of the books I have. So for this one, I looked through Soloveitchik's Halachic Man. I looked through some Rabbi Sachs, some Yitz Greenberg, some Natan Lopez Cardozo, and they all have these different articulations about choosing life, about the importance of taking action to bring that back into the conversation. So under these theories, under these thinkers' rubrics, Jewish, not Jewish, doesn't really matter. It's about how you act, how you behave. So ultimately, I think that they're saying the same thing, having studied these texts for a massive number of years as you are, and you've had exposure to them, but you've not kind of done deep academic dives into them.
I think that I've come to it more from the perspective of, like I said, of science, of looking at authors like Bill Bryson. And
right. I'm going to quote to you Rabbi Cardozo. It's from The Risk of Faith and the Courage to Choose. Rabbi Cardozo says, the words, quote, I believe with perfect faith, so that's from Maimonides' 13 Principles, Ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema, are not a declaration. They are a prayer. Oh, that I may believe. Right? And it goes back to this notion of choice. I mean, we each approach this every day, right? We're living through a time where ICE is randomly attacking a whole bunch of people, and I don't mean ice qua frozen water, and where Iran is going through what it's going through, suppressing all the people it's suppressing, where there's conflict still, even though the war is over, between Israel and Gaza, and on and on and on. We each choose to believe something, right? In order to get out of bed, you have to make the choice. Today's going to be a better day, or even if I'm just going to keep my head in the sand because I can't handle the news, which is something I do regularly these days. So we're making choices about what we're going to believe in those moments. Is that a conscious thing for you, or is it only those of us who are over 60?
Can you specify what is the conscious thing?
Making a choice to believe that today is going to essentially be a better day or a day that I can tolerate. Because otherwise you wouldn't get out of bed.
No.
Say more.
I have things to do.
Okay.
I say that like not as flippantly as it sounds, but from perspective of acceptance and commitment therapy, there's a focus on living your life according to your values and taking actions that are in accordance with those values. And what you feel or what you think on a moment-to-moment basis matters because it impacts your experience, but doesn't really matter in terms of what you're going to choose to do. So if I'm sad about what's going on in the world, that might impact how I feel throughout the day. But my values suggest that I have an education to get. I need to meet my commitments. I want to see my family. And so my actions will reflect those values.
Mm-hmm. Is that a line for you?
I would say that I don't necessarily just thinking about like waking up this morning, I don't necessarily think that today is going to be better than yesterday. And I have a lot of, I think, like fear around just the direction, even like we're seeing things going. And I don't know if things are going to be okay. But kind of as you were touching on, it's sort of what is one within my own control, because you can easily let that swallow you. And I don't know if today is going to be better than yesterday, but I can try to, within my own little world, try to be impactful, whether it's through, actions or community or, the decisions that you're choosing to make. That still holds weight in my day-to-day decisions on following through on my commitments or creating, having deep connections with others and all those pieces that I don't know if every single day is getting better. I actually think it's getting worse a lot of the time. But within my sort of experience of reality, I can only do as much as I have control over and have the ability to do to try to create positivity and be a positive impact on those around me and those that I care about. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's kind of where the decision to get out of bed comes from.
But if you think things are getting worse, there's an arc to that.
I mean, I think things may eventually get better. I think, right, and we'll see. But I don't know when that will be, is the thing. Is that, right, I feel like even if we, not to get too political, but, 2016 was 2016 to 2020 was a whole, era in time that was not necessarily pleasant for everyone. And then COVID happened, and that was a weird experience, or that was sort of the same time COVID happened. And now here we are with ICE happening, just so many other pieces in the world that I think it's naive to assume that, it's a little naive to be like things are just going to get better because they're not really right now.
Well, I also think that some of it is context. And I was having this conversation with a friend of mine the other day. Not everybody has a problem with ICE and what Trump's doing. I think our community and friends largely do. But the counter argument, and this is from someone who's a giant liberal, maybe even a progressive, said, you need to put it in context. We are not living in Iran right now. If we were truly living under an authoritarian regime, we could not be having this conversation. So it's important to recognize that while there may be authoritarian tendencies and that there are things that we don't like about this particular administration, we're still living within the penumbra of democracy. Look, it could be that we're heading towards Iran, or it could be that at the end of his term, Trump won't insist on staying as the president, and there will be an election, and whoever is in there next won't have authoritarian tendencies, whether it's Democrat or Republican. Could be. We just don't know. Do you have any questions about the song that you listen to?
I would love to look at a set of the lyrics because it's such a dense song about, right, what 13 what is it, the
13 principles,
right? I don't know the 13 principles, and so
list them, Abba.
1 through 5 are that you are the sole creator, In your uniqueness as the only God, that's number 2. Number 3, that you are not corporeal and there is nothing comparable to you. 4, that you're first and last. 5, that you're the only one to whom it is appropriate to pray. These are my summaries.
What was 3 again?
3 was that you are not corporeal and there is nothing comparable to
physical. Thank you. I was asking for a definition. Okay, no, I don't have questions on the first 5, I don't think. Do you?
Maya?
No. Those
Okay.
are very standard Judaism ones.
Yeah. Okay, 6, belief that the words of the prophets are true. 7, that Moshe is the antecedent of all prophets, the first prophet. That the entire Torah we know today is the one given to Moshe. 9, that the Torah will not be exchanged and that no additional Torah will be given. That's a response to the New Testament. 10, that you know all our thoughts and deeds.
Gets into some free will stuff.
I have free will as my favorite conversation.
Did you want to get into free will, Maya?
Do you want to go into free will? You brought it up.
I was clarifying.
Do we have free will? That's the real question.
Well, do we?
I have to believe yes. Otherwise, what is the point of living in existence and making choices?
Maya, you okay with that?
I wrote a paper about the neuroscience of this.
So the neuroscience of it suggests that there isn't or there is?
There's arguments for both. There's a study that was done that showed the fMRIs could...
Or fMRIs.
Functional magnetic resonance imaging machines. So the things that can look at your brain could tell what decision you were going to make before you realize that you were going to make it consciously. If your brain is making a choice before your consciousness realizes that you are making a choice, is that free will?
I mean, I think yes. I think that's just chemistry and how the body functions. I have to assume that I have free will to choose to kick you right now. Otherwise, rather than believe that simply because I was born on a specific day and sort of ever since the start of time, everything else has been planned out or we're living in some simulation of the Matrix. Even if my brain is making a decision before I consciously have made the decision, my brain is still making the decision. It's not a domino effect of because you wore pink today, that is the reasons why I ordered eggs Benedict, right? There has to be free will.
So there was a further study that said that they can tell when you're making decisions in advance, but only decisions that are simple, not complex decisions. So if the complex decisions that are impacted by human experience are not predictable, then I would argue that we have free will.
Mm-hmm. So you both land in the same place, but possibly for slightly different reasons.
I would say yes.
I just didn't give her all the information up front.
How do you make that dovetail with the idea that God knows everything, including all of your choices that you're going to make?
I feel like this is normal parenting. I mean, my parents often knew what decisions I was going to make and disagreed with some of them and didn't stop me, right? That's parenting. You're like, okay, some of your decisions are dumb, some of them are smart, and you're gonna do what you're gonna do, and I'm gonna be here to help you at the end of the day. But knowing that someone's gonna do something stupid and letting them do it anyway, or knowing that someone's going to do something smart and letting them do it anyway, doesn't mean that you've made a decision for them. It just means that you know.
Yep. And that aligns with some really important philosophy discussions that the Rambam, again, same guy, has. It's Maimonides. Do you feel the same way?
One of the beautiful things about making a dumb decision is that hopefully, you learn from that dumb decision and you get to see what the repercussions, and then you get to make more effective and intelligent decisions moving forward. Not all of us always do that, but we try our best. I think kind of to your point about parenting, it's, sometimes you have to be the one to make the decision and you hopefully improve from that generally, right? If you fail, ideally you get back up and you learn from that experience, and failing is a good thing. And making the wrong decision is a good thing because hopefully you come out the other end realizing other alternatives to make those decisions. And I think, again, your parenting metaphor was great because it's important to have those experiences. Otherwise, you wouldn't grow as a person.
That makes a lot of sense. So why were you so tickled by the Valley Girl God?
To quote Ariana Grande, like God, right, it's way more fun to think God as a woman, even if I don't necessarily believe in God. And also, it's just really fantastic to hear Maya do that accent. It's a very unconventional way to sort of paint the man in the sky or whatever, the sort of the traditional visual that we see in media and that people have in their heads. And so it's a very fun representation, and I think a very nuanced way. Paris Hilton had a Valley Girl accent that's actually not her accent because it makes her seem dumber, and it makes her feel more blonde. It makes her more accessible to Western American society. And I think that having a Valley Girl accent doesn't necessarily mean the same things that a lot of people stereotype about women and being from Southern California. And so it's very fun to have that painted as something that I don't think anyone else has thought of.
Do you think it made God more accessible to have God be presented as a Valley Girl? Because we could have done a God like this, something serious. And then, of course, this is just not a fun song.
Way less fun.
Yeah.
Well, the other option was you wanted me to consider doing God as a therapist.
Yeah.
I think it adds, at least for me, it adds light to the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Could you see God as a Valley Girl? Because I'm going to make the case here. Not that she was a Valley Girl in this film, but Legally Blonde, Reese Witherspoon, right? She's so smart, right? And she's so capable. And she's, a bit of a Valley Girl, poodly, not someone of gravitas with the little fluffy dog. Chihuahua, exactly. The little Chihuahua and the pink outfits. And she's more like a preppy than a Valley Girl, but whatever. The same concepts come up. So there's this notion in that film that posits that true power, it can be hidden behind gloss and glitz and unseriousness. Not that I had this in mind when I suggested to Maya that she do this in a Valley Girl voice, but that's presumably why we think it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes it more accessible, especially if you believe God is not definable, which is kind of the Jewish view on this. Then why can't God also be a Valley Girl? Why does God only have to be the El Kanav and Okem, the jealous and vengeful God? Okay, but by the way, Elwood gets pretty vengeful and revengey in there, and she has revenge on her boyfriend who treats her poorly.
She just leaves him.
No, but then she does something to her supervisor. She does something to him.
Yeah, no, she goes to Harvard to spite her boyfriend.
I have seen this movie many times. I know exactly what happens. I would say that if in Judaism, we have many different facets of God.
Okay, so God has many names in Judaism. Anytime there's a moment of transition in our prayer space, we say Kaddish. And when we say Kaddish, we say Yitgadal v'Yitgadash Shemei Rabbah. May God's name be increasingly great. Name, not God, right? Because then it would be Yitgadal v'Yitgadash Hashem, or, okay, that's hysterical. That's the name. Adonai Rabbah. It doesn't say that. It's may the name be great. And our non-name for God is the name, right? So there's something bound up in this naming thing.
Oh my God, I just processed that.
What do you mean?
That Hashem means the
name.
Oh my God.
Thank God you're explaining, Shep.
So God has many names. The name Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, and I'm saying it that way on purpose because there's a tradition not to recite God's name, even though we don't know how to pronounce it, right? But that's how God's name is spelled, and it's the unpronounceable name because the Jehovah's pronounce it as Jehovah, Yud He Vav He, but we don't know how to pronounce it. Yahweh is another way to do it, and when Shari says it, Yahweh means it's Yahweh, not my way. So the Yud He Vav He is the feminine, compassionate God. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun. It's the 13 attributes of God that Moses says when he's asking God not to destroy the Israelites. But the El Kanav Okem, the jealous, vengeful God, is associated with the judging God, Elohim. right? So, which literally means judge. And there's 100 other versions of that. I'm not going to go into all of them. I'm just stopping there, but I think that that's what Maya was referring to.
Yes. And on the flip side, right, like there are all these different facets of God, but there's also the tradition that we are all made in the image of God. So if we are all made in the image of God, and there are a lot of Valley Girls out there, then there must be some facets of God that are like Valley Girls.
Right. I think that that's right. And there are the jealous, vengeful folks, which, again, to oversimplify this, every community has extremists within it, including the Jewish community, and they're falling on that spectrum. They're falling away from the Valley Girl and going to the jealous God that can only be way that's the right way. And everyone else is, shtick dreck, a little bit of doo-doo on the bottom of their shoe. Is there anything else you want to add? You guys get the final word on this. I mean, I get the final word, but you guys get the final word.
Thoughts? Opinions?
Potato.
We have to listen to God as a Woman in the car on the way back, by the way. The Ariana Grande song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's fabulous.
You never heard it?
Yeah.
I mean, I may have heard it. I don't remember. I often end these with a bracha for my guest or guests. Here's my blessing, my bracha to you, Noelle. So, first of all, do you know what your name means?
You've told me once, but I forgot.
Okay, so there's a few different meanings depending on whether it's Latin or French, but I think in all cases it refers back to the birth of Jesus, right? So we can debate whether we believe Jesus is God or part of God, but one thing we know about Jesus is that Jesus brought a lot of light into the world, and over Christmas, we also get a lot of light in the world, even if they're just LEDs and candles. And you bring a lot of light in our lives. May you continue to bring that life and that sense of rebirth in everything you do.
Thank you.
Aww,
of course.
Amen.
Now, in your case, Maya, I'm also going to give you a name-related bracha because we were talking about God's name. And your name means?
The water of God.
The water of God. May Hashem. And your name also means, your middle name is?
Rafaela.
Right.
Healer.
Right, so the water of God heals. So water in Jewish tradition is a metaphor for Torah, right? Mayim Chaim, the water of life. So may you continue to be bringing your Torah, your water, whether it's God's Torah or not, doesn't matter, but Maya's Torah, so that it nurtures and quenches the thirst of yourself and the many people you come into contact with at school, for your clients, and for the many, many people around who love you.
Thanks, Abba.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you, guys. This was great.
Thanks, Abba.
This is so fun.
Give us a Valley Girl goodbye.
Please.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. Special thanks to Maya and Noelle for joining me, to Daniel Adam Day for co-writing the song with me, to Rob Kuttner for doing a comedy punch-up on the piece, to David Coyle for his help in producing this episode, to E. Rose for his help producing the song and this episode, to Jessica Hanna-Sweedler for her help on social media, to Liat Silvera for designing the podcast logo, and to my wife Shari for being my personal Queen Esther and hero. You can find Let's Talk About Faith and all of the other songs in this song cycle on most platforms that stream or download music, including Spotify and Apple. Please support the podcast and these songs by sharing, liking, commenting, and subscribing on all of your favorite platforms. The next episode of The Rest is Commentary, we're back to our regular schedule, and my guest will be my friend and mentor, educator, activist, coach, Shoshana Bloom, as I mentioned at the end of the Emily Cheng episode. We discuss different approaches to leadership, how the term leadership is overused and can be off-putting, the downsides of being a perfectionist, the symbiosis between a performer and their audience, the symbiosis between individuals in leadership roles with others among their constituents, the importance of shared language and stories, and so much more, all inspired by Shosha's thoughts after listening to It's About What You Do, inspired by Psalm 82, written by Liz Hanlon and me. Please join us.